Hey, Anton.
Hi,
Thanks for coming.
it's a pleasure.
It's a long time coming.
Yeah, I really like your new facility. I think it's a great service you guys have done for years and years for the community. Oh, it's my favorite station, definitely.
Thank you. We try our
Except I
best.
never get to hear it. I really have to spend more time when I'm at home, listening over the. You guys do simulcast?
We've got many internet streams and ways of listening that's
Good.
compatible with just about everybody.
I have
out
to
there.
do it because radio is just, as a whole, is such a sorry affair in America right now. Even the things that's the branding of radio, it's just ridiculous. Even KSRW back in LA, they just really figured out how to run that station into the ground. They used to have this woman Deidre Donahue that was so great, who had a program called Snap in the late 80s, and she had basically every band that was notable in any genre come in and record live just like this. It was so amazing,
And then it's all gone?
Well, she sort of set up a better facility at her house, and she said, "Why can't I just record this with my engineer at home and have a more comfortable environment and really get smoking?" And they're like, "No way."
That's not good. We have people sending in tapes from the UK here, sending in tapes from mailboxes in Idaho.
That's great.
It's pretty much open to anything.
That's really great. And John Peel does the same thing secretly because Dead Meadow. I don't know if you know those guys.
Do we know these
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, I like them.
Incredible.
I have some really great recordings I got to give you that we did. They were out at my studio. I mean, I did a live record with them, but I talked them into just coming over for like 30 hours when we were playing some shows out there, and I kind of recorded it like Cream or something with that volume, and it like our Jimi Hendrix record or something, and it sounds so amazing.
That's great. How much time do you spend in your studio, and what
I
what
work-
do you have hooked up there? What's going on?
Well, I work in spurts, kind of. I really will. At this point in my life, for years and years, I sat only in studios 24 hours a day, and I found that it was kind of like taken away from something that I needed with my art, which is reality, where you live your life and you can bring that into your music or whatever it is you do. Because I was just this creature that stayed up all night in a recording studio making up these songs and then sleeping all day or whatever, and that's not right. So now what I try and do is I just live a little bit and then I go and work really hard. Or if I see bands, I try and schedule time and work really hard with that. And so I just try and be more productive. So we have this studio. I have a partner. His name's Rob Campanella, and we record stuff like The Tide and all the LA bands, and it's not really a money situation, just it's like when we find people or a situation, a band we like, we'll help them out and charge them accordingly. I mean, I don't really get into the money side of it because I can't really quantify what it, when I'm putting 100% of me, like, what's $2,000 of $5,000 that some label gives you? It's like almost not even worth it. I always end up putting it into repairing all the stuff that's broken.
Yeah.
Like the headphones that go. Oh my God.
So we spoke a little bit before. The death of Elliott Smith just happened very recently, and of course, you're California and friendly with
We're
them.
neighbors. I've known him for a long time I knew him since he started recording. I knew him from Portland and the connection with the Dandies and all the bands up there, and became better and better friends with him. As we toured and would be same town or a day apart, and he's been living with one of my best friends ever, and I'm just like, I'm in shock. I mean, I don't know the details, and I just know that he touched a lot of people. Even last night we were in Western Mass up there playing by Amherst, or I forget, what is it, East Ham? I don't know what, one of those towns up there, but and people were really sad,
Yeah.
and I don't know what to think. I just feel I was raised to sort of believe that life is for the living, and certainly his music's gonna live on, but I feel for my friend, his significant other, I just can't imagine finding somebody that you love that much like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just wild.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of my friends that I've certainly dabbled with drugs and had my own trials and tribulations, you know, and had to go through Gestalt therapy, which is something I tried to encourage him to do because it helped me separate the physical, you know, cop shoot cop aspect and the ritualistic aspect and the desire to like quit doing dope or whatever with the realities of, you know, like the Gestalt of it, like the focus. And I tried to encourage him to hook him up with my friend Dallas Taylor. He was the drummer in Crosby, Stills and Nash, but he's a Gestalt therapist in the you know, the field. And the thing is like what Dallas would always say is this disease or whatever it is, you know, when you're that seriously into it, a medical condition that it just wants you dead, no matter what, you know,
it's stalking you.
Yeah, and continuously sort of gaining momentum. And I just saw him the day that we left. I saw him and his girlfriend and hung out for a little bit, you know. I was trying to get him to record on a record. I know that he was really into working on the new record. And we also did an interview for this magazine that's just started in LA that's pretty cool called Under the Radar. A photographer and a journalist got together and from the ground up, and it built this, like, it's going to be another good magazine, like a cross between Magnet and Big Takeover, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good.
Glossier version of, you know, what Jack Rabbit does. And so he just was in the last issue, and he was really forthcoming about, you know, everybody with the rumors about his lackluster performances and his drug problems and all this stuff. And I just didn't see this coming at all. It's just I'm in shock. It's really depressing, you know?
Yeah.
I guess just for selfish reasons. The thing is there's not like going to be another person immediately that's going to come along. There's people that affect people like emo, people like Bright Eyes or something that, you know, young people in great numbers relate to the same way as has effect, but it's not the same thing. He has very unique talent, you know? Yeah. And it's really hard too when you have that kind of notoriety, especially when people are familiar through your records. You know, it's like so hard because what if you do show up and you're not good? I mean, it happens to me all the time. I get to read articles about how, well, those guys, you know, he was arguing with the audience and then he played this crappy song or something, and then it was great, and then it was this, you know, and it really bugs you. You just have to remember that you're not what you do.
Right.
And the last note on it is like, I can't imagine that somebody have a fair amount of resources like that. You know, he has had music and movies, and he has publishing deals and a record deal. You know, if it's that troubling to you, you know, just split.
Yeah.
There's an island with your name on it someplace where nobody listens to Kill Rock Stars. I mean, come on. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I know personally, you know, the last time that I really was like an inch away from killing myself and set up the whole scenario and did all that stuff, it was like this amazing thing happened. You know, I like scored all this smack, like $800 worth or something. I was sitting there and the mood was right, and I said my goodbyes, and, you know, it was in a perfect environment. And you know what happened?
What?
It just dawned on me that, wow, I could do this. This is a done deal. I mean, I'll have to just follow through. And then it was so unimportant. It was like, wow, I could do this anytime. And it was like super liberating. And then for me, it was like a non-issue. It's like, and I never was depressed or somber again. Isn't that wild?
That's insane. I mean,
it's not insane. It's like, it totally makes sense. You know?
I mean, it's insane to somebody who's not, you know, who hasn't been at that deep core, you know.
Well, I think people do have different reasons for sort of, you know, when they're at that level. But a big one of them, that from my personal experiences, they, you know, you feel so uncomfortable, and it's such a grind on you that, and it's out of your control, beyond your control. So you could understand that when I brought it to the level where I was in control of the situation, well, there's a switch right here. I could just end this right now. And once I knew for certain that I was in control of that, then the way that I viewed the situation, that, you know, it wasn't really depression. It's like, it's a problem that you're milling over. Your mind goes into those loops. Like, you know, sometimes when you're an insomniac, you just keep thinking about the same thing over and over again, and you dwell on it. But I found it really liberating. You know, once I took myself to that point, okay, I'm going to kill myself, it was like, this is unnecessary. I could do this anytime now. So now I'm free, you know? Now I can hang out till next week or next month and see what life is, because I'd always noticed since I was a child that it's a circle, you know? You have these good days, and then it just starts to go sour, and then it won't stop getting worse, and then, you know, like over time. And you just get sick of it, you know? But
you had that choice.
Well, I realized, you know, by really looking at it. So it leads me to believe, like I said, I don't know, I haven't talked to anybody specifically very close to the situation, but it leads me to believe that he was probably intoxicated. I just can't imagine, you know, probably just really, really messed up and sad, you know? But I can't, I mean, you got to understand, you have to hand it to people that accomplish that goal, whether it's Kurt Cobain or anybody. It's like, it's your number one will. I mean, it's their number one force in your life is survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to suppress that, it's just very serious, but just a tremendous loss. I just don't see a lot more people like him coming around. Mm-hmm. And I hope that, you know, I don't know, I hope people that feel that way would try and talk to some people about it, you know, find people, because I just think it's horrible. Yeah. You know? I was just hinting like, oh yeah, there's an island with your name on it. Of course, everybody doesn't have that kind of resources, you know, to like just go away or drop out of society or something. But I don't know.
You got a new record out.
Yeah.
Changing gears here.
Yeah, I know. Enough of that stuff. It was sad. Yeah, I'm really excited, kind of, about it.
Kind of, sort of.
We're
pretty excited. Just, you know. So
I really am too. It's just such an odd process, you know. This one we put together really quick, like 15 days, basically of recording. Ed Harcourt, the kid from England. I don't know if you're familiar, nice guy.
Okay.
And Kurt Heasley from the Lilies sang, Darren Rademacher from the Tide.
So they're all on this record?
Yeah, they're doing the vocals for me. And Matt Toe from Australia, great guy, has a band called the Love Tones. He's been around forever, and you know, yeah.
So this is a Bomp release or Bomp distributed?
No, Greg and I have our own label besides Bomp, and I just license internationally, you know, anyways. So on this one, it's TP, they're a New York label.
Okay. And
it's distributed by Caroline. In England, it's on Cargo, you know, it's A&M Universal in Canada, and like Chatterbox in Australia. It's like just different.
Record's getting out.
Yeah.
That's for sure. This is so great. The text on this, it's just so right on. It's just, you know, I've always had this sort of thing where, you know, I'm a fan. I don't have to tell you that. Kind of glaze over when dealing with you guys. But, you know, there's that sort of, I guess, you know, you being kind of sort of, you know, my weird ideal of an artist or someone who takes a path that I kind of really recognize as sort of like very much a path I understand, where, you know, there's a lot of resistance and this sort of battle back and forth, you know, with the people you know, you make the art for yourself, but you care what people think, but you don't, but you care, you know, it's back and forth, and just the text on this, and it's so great. It's just like this sort of like dialogue, and it's like, oh man, it's just like, you know, battle back and forth.
And it's so great. The funniest thing that I really, it's really frustrating for me because people can't see the process. You know, I have to argue everybody who's in contact with me that at the bottom line, it's like anything else is like your mom. She loves you, you know. She's going to tell you, no, I don't want you going out, you know, dressed like that, and you're going to dress how you want it. And it's silly, but there was a couple things going on that really sort of hit the nail on the head. It's like I was kind of excited, all these garage bands and different, like the cosmology of popular music was expanding a little bit, and it seemed like exciting, except it all just became neutralized into these fashion camps and these like points of reference, like, well, I'm into television, well, I'm into Gang of Four, you know. And it's like, wait a minute, there's a whole world out there even within these genres, and I think that it's just so myopic. like how everybody was. And then on top of it, it's like, well, then there's England's response to the Strokes. It's the Libertines, but they're doing their record cover looks like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and it's like these crazy, like, you know. And I was like, this is such crap, because, you know, this is how these things die really quickly, is when
Right.
before they're even presented to you, you know, it's this thing in this box, you know, and they can't get out of the box, you know. And it's kind of like chickens, free range chickens versus, you know, McDonald's mass productions chickens. So chickens need a little bit more space, you know, to be quality. So I really set out and I just said, well, I'm going to make it a text only record cover presentation.
Right.
You know, and I'm not going to play up my garage roots and my aspects, because it seems like so much bitter grapes. Like, sure, you know, these guys from this band were in my band, and these guys were in my band. I taught this guy how to play guitar, and these people are all in the magazines. It's all such just a big yawn, you know. So
It's so funny. You guys have just persevered through this particular
wave,
quote unquote period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I'm like, hey, exactly. It's great. It's great. Look at this. Look, the music is great. And then it's like, you know, the peers, the people that are into music, like one by one, like completely destroy the scene with like the factions. Like you said, it's just like, can I like enjoy anything anymore? You
there's
know?
like some great stuff in Adbusters right now. Now, like, you don't have to buy into all their left, ultra left, and anti-capitalist whatever rhetoric, but you know, the facts are the facts. And they have this great article in the last issue where it's just talking about the how everybody's being sold this idea that they're such an individual all the time, you know, by the millions, you know. And it's like, it's so ridiculous. But that's like, you know, people can take the momentum. I mean, obviously, if the music is worthy, then it's going to continue to influence and live. And you know, Velvet Underground is an example of that. It continues to inspire and you know, sort of influence people, and there'll be other bands like that. And I wish that even with the massive successes or the tedious monotony that bands endure, I wish that they would keep that in mind, is that you're not only making music for today and right now and to pay your rent. It's like you should be making it for all time as well. You know, if you really care about what you're doing, you should think about that, you know, and think about what it is that brought you to the table in the first place. And you know, and sometimes, like, you know, like I always think about stuff like real cliches that I make up in my head, like, oh, I just carry the torch so others might see, you know, just like real simple stuff that they nail you to a cross for or whatever. But yeah, it's really, you know, I could have just went in and said, oh, I want to do this, like, the Warlocks, they're doing this, that's my thing, you know. And then you read Enemy and they're just talking about how, oh, the band's from San Francisco and their motto is keep music evil. And I'm like, those suckers really took my bio off my band page and just inserted this other band's name.
Wow.
Because the band isn't from there.
Right.
And they're like, you know, I'm an A&R with Bomp, but they're not on my label. And that isn't their motto, you know. And it's just like, it's just filthy. And then us just doing an interview. We're going on tour in England right now.
Right.
You know?
You're opening or
BMRC.
BMRC. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
exciting.
good. You know, we
It used to be the other way around.
I
as
know.
You know.
Well, you know, but that doesn't matter. The thing about it is like we had our own tour set up, like 500, 600 seaters everywhere. You know, and it was going to be a grind. And then we got picked up for that one, and so we're in like the 1,500 to 4,500 seaters, and it's just speeding up the process, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be 57 years old and go over there for the first time and say, this is what I used to do. It used to matter, but it still does. You know, I want it to be like, oh, well, you know, that's their thing, this is our thing, and, you know. But it was funny, like, doing an interview, the first, like, real feature that we've ever had in Enemy, because they just, like, sort of drop at us or bring us into it a little bit. But it doesn't fit into their cosmology. But I'm waiting for the backlash, because they're the kings of that. They invented the cynical backlash. It's
Absolutely.
Like, it's the Strokes. And then it's just like, blah, you know? It's just like...
It's like you can't win.
It's
You
so
can't
funny.
get wrapped up in it either. You know.
Well, it's just weird because that's where the Jack Rabbits of the world come into, because bless his heart, he'll have for the next 20 issues there'll probably be an article about like Catherine Wheel or something,
the chameleons,
like that he's just obsessed with, and it's
Yeah.
just in depth. We're interviewing Mark Burgess's gardener about what it was like clipping the lawn during the making a script of the bridge or something. But I love him because
Yeah, he's
along with
great.
that,
He's
there's
really
like.
great.
Just like on our site, the funniest things in NME, I was like talking about influences. Talk about the '80s. Like people think that Richard Hell is like the prophet Isaiah or something. It's what a bunch of crap and all this stuff. I was like, talking to him, and I mentioned something about Echo and the Bunnymen. He's like, what? Those geezers. It's like, oh well, because I realized that other people aren't like in our neighborhood. Like we listen to records. We're record crazies. We DJ at clubs and we still spin that stuff.
Sure.
And it is an 80s night. It's like...
It's the real deal.
It's the bouncy stuff, and it's the same thing. I travel around the world. Every sort of like garage and Britpop leaning pop scene club, hipster club, they all play Bittersweet Symphony every weekend,
Verve.
Yeah.
Verve pipe. Verve.
Verve. Yeah, but it's just a great club jam, and what it's the message of it's like talking about how crappy the radio is which not this station. But so guess what our new album's called, because we recorded another one coming out, Hot on the Heels.
Hot on the Heels?
No,
That's very exciting. And This Is Our Music?
No, that's And This Is Our Music, which is a tip of the hat kind of to Dean and his seminal project, like Galaxy 500.
Wow.
What a great record that is. Because and it brought it to the forefront too, because people were like, oh well, you guys sort of started this whole like neo revival, and I go, that's not true. There's before us it was Galaxy 500 and Opal,
Sure.
and all that jazz, and before that there were some other bands that Greg Shaw knows all about, because he was behind all that stuff, all the LA stuff. And in the 70s we had Cyril Jordan and all of his jazz, and lots of other bands doing stuff. So it's just a continuous thing. People like the medium that we work in.
Absolutely.
So our next record's called We Are the Radio. Isn't that great?
That's great.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I like that.
It's really straight ahead.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You put out that Telescopes record too. I want to
Yeah.
ask you about that. That was much appreciated.
We got we've got another volume coming out, and it was really odd. Steven's such a great guy, and I felt so bad. Like I know McGee and all those people at Creation. Joe Foster works with us. He's like our guy in England. So the number 2 at Creation he was in Biff Bang Pow,
Right.
and all that stuff with those guys. And what happened is when they sold the label to Sony or Columbia or whatever, whoever got it, everything on the label got picked up, So it's like then all that stuff goes into a vault, and they say, well, we'll keep Primal Scream, but we'll really want Oasis, and we want the My Bloody Valentine, and we'll take the Ride, and we'll take this, and everything else goes into this cupboard, okay? And then a couple years later, what happens is like none of those people involved in that cruddy deal are even working there. So then you've got this new group of people that were maybe hired from whatever, maybe they used to wash cars for 50 cents. I don't know. It's like there's a new crew of people, and they don't even know what's in their vault. See, and I just knew from the inside information that they had the masters. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I wanted people to hear that music.
Yeah.
And so we didn't do a money deal. We kind of just told them that we want to do a vanity project. We got kids, and they can't even hear this music because it was dead to the world. And what really happened with the Telescopes was, they had minor press and were sort of climbing the ladder, and they put out this record they started to switch styles. They put out this record with this engineer, sort of pseudo producer in England, on Creation, and it didn't sell. And then a band called Riot came along, and they're like, you guys are cute. You're 19. You're from Oxford. You sound like this. And then the band was just on the back burner,
Yeah.
It's because they had a bad name,
Wow.
Just doesn't mean anything.
It's a great record.
Yeah, and I didn't know what people would think, because Greg and I sort of just laid out all of our songs. We were all their songs. We kind of just cut it in half, all the ones that we could just even stomach, threw all the rest away, and then just said, this is 2 records just like this, how we have it on the table. And I didn't know what people would think because it's so hard and abrasive, and then it's all like so mushy and soft and fuzzy. I was just like, wow, you know, because it morphs. But people in the press, like even regional things, have really responded favorably. Like, I didn't know what to think, and I was just absolutely. I'd heard that they were a shoegaze band. So much more than that, you know. They were like almost in the beginning. They were a lot like. There was a thing going on with the people, the Dinosaur Juniors and everybody, where they were really pushing the boundary of sonic experiments.
Guitar.
Yeah, just like that's a lot.
It's a very it is a very abrasive record for that time. I'd never heard. I didn't imagine that. I didn't imagine that sound for that period of time.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and it was really like, wow, this is something that's really important, you know, to point out and bring out. So.
Well, also, I just thought it was a shame. Like I said, they got so dwarfed. The difference between their sales are just modest sales. Like, you know, indie labels, if you go back in the history of indies, you know, like it starts to really kick off with my business partner, Greg, like as far as actually getting records out there. But we're talking sales in the thousands. And I know you just recently had the Romantics in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that is like Greg put out That's What I Like About You. Like he was there, put out that as a single, and then the majors go, this is amazing. This is pop music. Bam. And then the band jumps to there, puts out a record, dropped. It's dead. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there used to be a whole sort of farm club of do-it-yourselfers that worked really good for up to 25,000 copies or whatever, you know, people that were doing it themselves. But now, like, if you're the Dandy Warhols or the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, I pulled the SoundScans on the Yeah Yeah Yeahs a little while ago. They sold 16,000 copies in America on SoundScan. You can't have major label and all those ads and flying riders and getting your tour bus and stay on a label. That's not generate. For me, $16,000 means the band and I both get cars, you know,
right.
if we want them, right? Because there's no middleman. But for a big organization like that, with the marketing, it's unsustainable.
Right.
None of these bands, you know, and it's just disappointing that everybody so wants to or feels they have to take that leap automatically and only deal in that realm. Like, I haven't made it unless I get this deal. Which, you know, it was pointed out by a lot of people. Courtney was circulating that Steve Albini speech, you know, about you know, many bands, you know, are this screwed or whatever. There's a lot of truth to it. You know, you got to realize that kind of stuff. But
well, anyway.
Off on another tangent.
I'm telling you. Anton, what a businessman. It's like so funny.
I know on a lot of this records I always put, we bring a message from the kids of America, this business sucks.
Yeah.
And
That's one thing I think people take for granted, you know, behind all whatever hype they may read about you, whatever. It's like, hey, look, you know, check out the records, check out what he's doing. I mean, the guy is completely involved and smart and making decisions and really doing it by his book and, like, you know, getting stuff done. So
there's a whole tradition of people that have tried, you know, when they get in a position to help. I mean, look at Steve from Sonic Youth starting a label and bringing some of those obscure stuff, even Lee Hazelwood records, out of the woodwork for the stuff that he liked. You know, that's just some old man in Sweden, even though he had a #1 hit with Boots, wrote that stuff, Boots. I think that's important, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like what you're doing. You know, you spend a lot of time with this community-based radio. I mean, it's just important that when you know, you can do it. You just got to remember, Elliott, like, this business wants us dead. It's not like they're running, like, retreats and sanitariums out there for aging rock stars, you know, sit with a blankie out in the Swiss Alps or something. Definitely, but I believe in music, you know. It's odd because, like, the truth of the matter is I started loving music when I was like 3 years old, you know. I asked my mom to buy me a little record player, and I'd gone through all of her records and mastered that whole realm. And then by the time I was in kindergarten, I was going with her and buying albums, you know.
It's a great opportunity.
As a bonding opportunity, because she loved music so much, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was doing it independent. It's like very much what I was interested in, not what she was interested in my room. But it never occurred to me, you know, that I could do this jazz until I started watching punk bands play, and I was like, these guys are morons. I know I can do this, you know, and I think that's what's important, you know, is that people, it can be an empowering thing. It doesn't have to change the world. It doesn't have to be super political. It makes people feel good, you know. That's why. Personally, that's my motivation. I mean, I don't care what happens. But we're lucky because, you know, there's people everywhere, the few, the committed that should be committed.
Well, we're very glad that you came here to talk about few gigs, few times you're like on the East Coast, but we always look forward to that. So.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
No
problem.
problem.
I'll speak on behalf of the whole band.
You're doing this cruise thing on Saturday.
Friday night.
I actually think it's.
I think it's Friday.
Oh, it's Friday night at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's right after this show
I think we're
goes
playing
off.
Saturday at Pianos.
Pianos.
Yeah, at Pianos.
Pianos.
The pianist.
People go. It's absolutely, if you haven't seen the Brian Jonestown Massacre, I mean.
Well, Ann Hopewell and Mary Lou Lord.
Yeah, we're very familiar with Hopewell.
Yeah, well, Mary Lou Lord's been around too.
Yeah, I know. She's been around forever.
I know. Well, she's way more folk than all of us, you know.
All of you combined. You'll never be as folk as Mary Lou Lord.
Well, you know, women, they carry this incredible burden in life.
You need to cut it out right now. You need to just stop that. You have no idea.
I know. I do. I was raised by women. I know. I have an idea.
Yeah. Well, Anton, thank you very much for coming and speaking with me today.
Well, thank you. Thank New Jersey and New York.
And thank God. All right. We look forward to the new Brian Jonestown Massacre release, and this is our music, and much more to come. If you go to Brian Jonestown, the website.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
It's just all one word, BrianJonestownMassacre.com.